What's up guys, Tim Little. Welcome back to TacticalBassin. Today we are talking clear water fishing. What do you do when you show up to a body of water and it's gin clear? 10, 12, 15, 20 foot of visibility. So today I'm gonna give you guys some tips, some advice on how to still catch fish in gin clear water. You know, when you show up to a body of water and it's crystal clear, it can be intimidating, it can be overwhelming. You could feel a lack of confidence because the fish can see you from a mile away, right? So this is when your techniques, your boat positioning, how quiet you are on the deck of your boat, all those sorts of things come into play. I'm gonna break it down into two categories. I'm gonna talk about finesse first, and then I will talk reaction. Because believe it or not, you can still throw reaction baits in crystal clear water. So right off the bat, finesse. Finesse fishing, this is when you are gonna downsize. You're gonna downsize your rod, you're gonna downsize your line. 4, 5, 6 pound fluorocarbon. You're gonna downsize your baits. You're gonna go super natural. All these things come into play if you're trying to catch fish in crystal clear water. You know, they could, like I said, they could see you from a mile away. So boat positioning is key. Your shadow, your boat shadow, those sort of things you got to think of when you're pulling up to a spot. So gear, downsize, small fluorocarbon. You guys know that Matt and I, we love throwing braid to leader. You can still do that, but you have to tie a longer leader. You know, if I'm fishing 4 pound, I'm probably gonna just throw straight fluorocarbon. You know, typically these types of conditions, if I have to go that light, I'm gonna spool my spool up with straight fluorocarbon. Not gonna worry about braid. But if I can get into 6, 7, or 8 pound tests, I think I can get away with that. I might still run braid to leader, but I'm gonna run a very long leader. Leaders 15, 20, 30, 40 feet, depending on the depth that I'm fishing. If I'm fishing a hump in 20 feet, I wanna make sure that my leader is 25 or 30 feet. That way I'm still getting the sensitivity and the durability of braid, but that leader and braid is not visible to the fish. So think about stuff like that, the depths you're fishing. It is easier if you just spool up straight fluorocarbon, but you lose the sensitivity of braid. So downsize your line, downsize your gear, downsize your baits. If these fish can see your baits from 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 feet away, they don't have to be super bright or super big, right? So these types of conditions, I'm gonna start throwing a small drop shot worm. You know, something like a 4-inch robo worm. This little guy right here, this is a little Demiki. Smaller profile. It's not as in their face. You know, these fish, typically when they can see that far, they know what's going on in their home. They know everything that's going around. You know, some of this underwater footage that Matt and I have got, you know, we'll be fishing an area that has 15 or 20 foot of visibility, and we'll take a drop shot and we'll fire it 20 feet past where the fish are. And on the underwater, the footage, you can see the fish. I don't know if they hear it or feel it with their lateral line, but they sense it. They know that that bait is there. Even though it's 20 or 30 feet away, as soon as that bait hits the water, you'll see their dorsal fin stick up and they'll turn and look. Those fish are cognizant. They know what is going on in their domain. So downsize. You can see some of these baits I picked up are real iridescent in color. Start with your green pumpkins or your shad colors. If it is a sunny day, you can get away with flake. Remember that video Matt did a few months ago talking about bait colors in stormy conditions? If it is sunny outside, you can get away with baits that have flake in them. A little bit of reflection, a little bit of foil or something like that. But if it's cloudy, that's when you're gonna want to go with your more green pumpkin black flake stuff that has more contrast. One of my absolute favorite baits to throw in these types of conditions is gonna be a weightless worm, a Senko, a 5-inch Senko. You can skip it up under docks, let that thing fall. I will throw it wacky rig typically, but I will let that thing fall and let those arms just kind of subtly just do their thing and slow fall down the bottom, and those fish just come over. It's not intrusive to them, it's not overwhelming to them, and they just come up and just suck it in and just keep swimming. The bites, when you're on this pattern, the bites are very subtle, so you gotta be on your game and pay attention to your line slack and watch your line for little jumps if you can't visibly see your bait. But a weightless worm is one of my favorites, my absolute favorite baits to throw in gin clear water. It works out off island tops, it works off of points, it works off of bluff walls. If you're fishing a sheer wall, fire that thing up there in the little shade line, let it fall along that wall, it's money. Try a weightless Senko next time you're in gin clear water. Also, tubes. Again, downsize. These little guys are money. It mimics a goby or some little bait fish on the bottom, but if you're just dragging that or you're hopping it, very subtly, little tubes like that work very well. Again, the colors you're gonna throw, something that's gonna be in that green pumpkin, or we've done tons of videos on this guy right here. This is a Dry Creek tube, but this is like an old ugly color. It's just an iridescent green, shows up very well in that clear water. As far as presentation, it's gonna be a slow and subtle presentation, kind of a dragging or a light shake. If you're throwing a drop shot, put your rod tip in the water and just kind of hold it there. You don't need as much action to get these fish their attention when they can see that far away. Now, boat positioning, if you're fishing an island top or a hump or a long point, boat positioning is key when there's this much visibility. Things to be cognizant of: your shadow or the boat shadow, the sound of your boat. If you're pulling up to a spot, get off of the big motor, drop the trolling motor quietly, get up, move in there slowly. Clear water, you just have to be on your game, right? Because they can see, they can sense everything that's going on. It's not super windy, it's not murky, and they can just see everything that's going on. So all these things matter. Now let's talk about reaction. Reaction, the same overall general information applies, but the fact that you can move a bait a lot quicker and the fish don't get to sit there and stare at it, that really plays into your favor. So you can still throw reaction in gin clear water. You can throw your square bills, top waters, rip baits, lipless cranks. These all still work even though the water is super clear, but you're gonna move them quicker. You're not gonna let them get as good of a look at it. And as you can see, all of the color stuff applies. Your ghost colors, your ghost bluegills, ghost minnow, those sorts of things, those sorts of colors are the colors that you're gonna wanna throw in clear water. The one exception to that, for me, my opinion, is smallmouth. I feel like smallmouth, you can go with bright colors, bone colors, things like that. They're more aggressive, and you can get away with those colors for smallies. But if you stick with spots and largemouth, these colors will definitely work. One bait or one tip that I really want to share with you guys is throwing top water in clear water. Out here in Northern California, a lot of our reservoirs, these fish, they'll suspend 20 feet, 30 feet over 150, 200, 300 feet of water, and they just look up. That's an ant. They can see the bait above them, whatever they're kokanee or trout, whatever bait fish they're chasing, they can sit there, look up, and ambush them. Don't be afraid to throw top water over deep water in clear water. The last thing that I want to talk about, if you pull up to a clear body of water, I want to talk about big baits, because I don't feel that fish are as line shy or worried about everything if you put a big bait in their face. If they're tracking a bait, or they see a bait and it's a big old meal to them, I don't think they're as worried about braid to leader knot or braid to mono knots or boat shadow, that type of stuff. It all comes into play, but if you put a big meal in their face, sometimes they get dumb very quickly. So swim baits, I will start off, if it's a bait that I'm creeping on the bottom, so a finesse swim bait or something that I'm gonna present to them at a slower speed, I'm still gonna go with a ghosty color. Something that has a little bit of substance up top, but is mainly, the base of it is a clear color. You know, when you're creeping these things down on the bottom, and you're not just burning them back to the boat, you're not fishing them mid-column, you're just dragging them, or you're fishing them through rock piles or whatever you're fishing on the bottom, when these fish can sit there and stare at it, again, go with natural. If you're gonna throw a bait out there and swim it back to the boat, you can still go natural, but other colors work as well. Your light trouts, your bone colors, those colors will work also. So if you guys try all these tips and they don't work, go back when it's windy. Typically in these bodies of water, when the wind gets going, the fish get active. It blows the bait fish to them. They don't have to work as hard for them, but all of these techniques will work better in the wind, especially the reaction stuff, because those fish just get going and they get on those baits and they want to feed. There's so much stuff going on subsurface when it's slick calm and it's sunny and it's just gin clear water. You know, there's shadows, there's grass swaying, there's shadows from the ripple on the water. There's so many different things that's going on that these fish are paying attention to, but when it gets windy, it kind of churns things up and there's so much stuff going on, it's easier to catch them. So there you have it, guys. That is some quick tips and color and bait selections for clear water. You can take your favorite drop shot baits, your favorite finesse baits, work them slower, get the smaller ones, lighter line, and you'll catch fish. If you want to throw reaction, stick to those natural colors. The faster you move that bait, the less it matters. Big baits, if it's on bottom and they're dissecting it, they're investigating, they're getting a good look at it as it's creeping on the bottom, stay natural and ghosty, and you guys will put more fish in the boat. If you guys have any questions, please leave those down below in the comments section. If you guys have any tips that you guys use at your bodies of water that are very clear, again, leave those down. We appreciate you guys. You guys have a good day.